this time around. The rest of the draft, minus the Xayah, was pretty good for me. Like, I liked the Vi Taliyah. That's a comp that they're in combo that they're so good at, but I mean, T1 just completely countered their entire game plan. So they have to start from scratch here this time around.
Yep, I think the Poppy might need a look.
Maybe?
I think the Poppy was something that was very, very valuable. I don't think you need to ban Jace. If you're just going to get crushed by Kennen, what's the point of banning Jace?
I mean, Zeus is just so good at so many different champions, and Faker historically has been, but I feel like recently not. I was going to say, just ban Azir.
Azir's a 5-on-2.
That's what I was going to say, because Faker has, every time it's not, he can't play the top tier AD carry, he just goes back to this. And, I mean, KT have literally watched him go back to this in a lower bracket finals and lose their chance of going to the first grand finals in many, many years. When Faker is not at his peak, he leans on the Azir. Take that away from him, and we'll find out what T1's draft is going to look like in Game 2. I feel like Faker was also not POG worthy, but his itemization and his ability to just shut down some of those engages by pressing his arm guard made such a large impact in how those team fights played out. They will also take the Kennen away.
I feel like they just banned away the things surrounding the thing that was really hard for them to deal with.
Yeah.
A little bit. But also, I do agree that the Azir was a problem. I don't know whether that Yordle was the biggest problem.
This feels to me like they're fishing for a first pick Renekton again.
Yep.
And there are other answers to the Renekton.
I mean, one of them they banned in the first game, and it's now available.
Yeah, I was with them on the Azir ban. The Kennen ban was, to me, a step too far. But let's see how this shakes out, because the Kennen, again, very quintessential to how that comp for T1 played out and made it so difficult for them to set up those dives. They may just kind of run the draft back with this adjustment. Sejuani is going to come through here this time around. The real big question is going to be, what is Faker playing? Corki is gone. Tristana is much weaker. He has not been our greatest Tristana player this season. They will just pivot to the Jace, which was the other champion that you were alluding to they banned in the previous game. Let's see if they'll be able to find that same punish with Sejuani Jace. Probably won't be as extreme as Pyosik.
Aha.
Going back to the Ivern.
All right, well, Ivan Lucian going to be locked in here. Faker, I kind of hope that he doesn't pick Tristana, which is up and available, but they also just have physical damage so far. That is a little bit of a wry grin on his face.
Yone, question mark? But it's so tough to play Yone Jace into Ivern brushes.
And also, like, Yone, Jace, Sejuani is so much physical damage towards the top side of the map that you'd be banking on the fact that T1 wouldn't... that T1 would be able to get their hands on a Ziggs or something like that. It is instead going to be a Taliyah locked in, something that can punish the dashes of the Lucian relatively effectively.
Yeah, and now it's assumed the solution is going to be going to the mid lane. I think that is, I'd say, a 90% certainty at this point. I do not think KT are going to flex that bottom. T1 don't think so either. Going to ban Ziggs.
The Ziggs ban...
Well, maybe...
now that Taliyah's locked in, it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it could be, but either way, just trying to really cover their bases here, because Ziggs is so frustrating to deal with, whether mid or top, with the Ivern Brush setup, as we've seen many times here in the LCK Gen.G. Let us all know. Kalista is going to be taken away once again. It's been a pick that unlocks so many different champions for Keria and gives Guma so much agency there in the bottom lane. So I like that ban as kind of a permanent fixture. Final ban here is a little bit tricky.
I think maybe support ban again, like a Leona to be taken away. And Zeri instead. Not necessarily a pick that I associate with Deft completely, but could still work. I'd like to see Deft on Caitlyn because I like brush synergy.
A lot of teams would have just banned the Nami there just to make sure, but perhaps whatever Guma's got planned here is going to be relatively safe into that Lucian if it were to be flexed, so he's not as worried about it. And it's just not the same strong lane it was after multiple nerfs.
Not everyone's as big brain as TV Max Wolf, you know, from yesterday.
The MF taken away, I think, is wise. This does leave up the Senna, though. And like the Kalista pick I mentioned before, it also unlocks Keria to play a lot of different things.
A good old Seraphine Leona, the classic.
What if it's Seraphine mid? I hope not.
I mean, I don't know where it's going. I mean, theoretically it could.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
the Sejuani Senna. for the Vitalia as the final lock-in. That's actually pretty cool.
That's very T1. And I do think it is relatively risky, but they're going to do it anyway.
Oh, that's the Lee Sin.
It's happening.
Oh, thank goodness. This is what I've been calling for. I don't know, like, it wouldn't have been better than the Poppy in the last game. Oner was absolutely incredible, and I ate my words on that one. However, it's just always fun watching Oner play this champion.
I think that the Ziggs, you know, ban here is really smart, but I almost kind of looking at this, maybe the Ziggs would have been, it's hard to say. I look at the draft of KT and I go, well, Senna is going to take a long time before she can hurt these champions, and they're going to have a lot of shields, and then also she can't hurt them if she can't see them. If they lose map control, it's tough. The same with the Jace. He's going to really struggle to land his poke if the brush setup is there constantly. Again, this is reliant on KT having an early game advantage, having a mid game advantage, and then being able to set up on those objectives, because without it, then it becomes really easy for the Jace to just kind of force brushes to be placed in places that KT don't want to have them, so try to leapfrog their way towards objectives. But there's a lot of shielding in this composition. It is definitely going to be a high-value Chemtech Dragon game.
Oh, yeah.
Mountain as well will be super high value if either of those go there. Oh, no.
We're just trying to remember the fact that it could happen.
Well, this time it's a near unanimous for KT, and so far not looking great for them. Much better draft here, in my opinion, though, in Game 2. With all these shields, the Lucian and the Renekton are going to be tough to deal with, but it does rely on so much of the setup. Here, great T1 draft. Cool flex of the Sejuani into the support role. We'll see what Keria can get done.
Yep, I'm very interested to see whether KT can bounce back after a tough loss. Let's jump into the rift for game number 2. All right, everyone extraordinarily loud, as per usual. Absolutely fantastic. Deft is going to be piloting the Seraphine. He's going to be conquering things there on the bottom side. I had a brief squiz at his solo queue record.
And a squiz?
A squiz. It's having a look.
I've never heard that before. Yeah. Okay, I learned something.
You haven't heard squiz before?
No, I'll learn something else when you tell me what you saw in his...
Right. Zero. I saw no Seraphine at all. So this is hidden tech that he has been building alongside, maybe on a separate account, maybe just in scrims, or maybe he hasn't played it yet. I don't know.
It is known to be a high-skill champion.
I mean, you drop the beat and stuff, you know, and it's cool, and she does high notes.
I mean, when you consider the shields between Seraphine, Ivern, also trying to get into those brushes when the Seraphine ult's just going to be flying at you, and it is really scary to think about the potential of this composition. Kind of uncharted territory, as Renekton's not a traditional tank, but with all the shielding, he becomes better than a traditional tank. He also heals himself, so...
You just build your own tank. And Ivern literally does that, because Daisy's kind of a tank. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't see if he was playing Renektoy, but it would be fitting if you're doing a build a tank situation.
I still think that Outback Renekton does the most damage. That's just my theory.
Well, you might have to look at the in-game stats for that one.
Might have to.
I think there might be some facts against your theory.
Yeah, could be. It's probably not real, but I like to keep it as my headcanon.
It is Conqueror Seraphine.
Yeah.
Here in the bottom lane. Not looking for Comet or any sort of area, any sort of harass here in this bottom lane. Just going to be doing a lot of damage, do as much as he can. Just sustained trades.
Ooh, Faker throwing some boulders around and actually able to dodge as Beryl takes a turret shot as Deft is dropping the beat. Beryl's still actually able to keep himself alive because, of course, Eclipse and Aftershock are a broken combination. Still, it's a pretty even trade between the two. As, oh my goodness, another one. 95% win rate here for Gumayusi on his Senna.
20-1. This is LCK only, by the way. He has a lot of wins internationally on this pick as well.
Yep. That is a pretty good scoreline.
He lost once out of 21 games. I don't know, like, no matter how you frame it, it's just insane.
Yeah, no, it's just particularly good. Let's see whether KT can actually come out on top. Because, of course, Senna is also a champion that isn't necessarily as strong as it used to be. You know, a lot of those wins did happen previously. So this is going to be slightly different story, I guess.
It is kind of tricky to play a Sejuani into Seraphine Leona. The Aftershock value is going to be high, but you're kind of, you know, not only are you melee, but your engage is relatively slow. It's really easy for Def to just kind of keep you at bay and kind of annoy you in the laning phase.
Beryl, what are we doing? We're just living under a turret. That's his game plan. He just gets bored and wants to press Zenith Blade. And you blame him?
Wait a minute. I've seen this one before. That's not a Poppy, but looks like he's not going to commit to the play, but a scary moment nonetheless for Perfect.
Maybe foreshadowing what's going to happen in the future. Thankfully for Perfect, he is going to at least be able to pick up this minion wave. Only 10 CS behind. I say only 10 CS behind because we've seen this matchup go even more in favor of the Jace, both at the hands of Zeus' Jace and Keen's Jace. Like, we've got some pretty good Jaces.
Khan's Jace back in the past.
Hey, yeah, that's true.
You know?
Pawn's Jace as well. I mean, he's here in the crowd. One of our better mid-Jace players is Pyoshik. Going to find a root caller onto Faker, and not too much is going to come of it. And Oner coming down towards that bottom side. Let's see whether they can survive this, as Oner takes a fair bit of damage, but also dishes back a lot as well with that Tempest.
Yeah. BDD gets a bush. That's always the most annoying thing about... one of the most annoying things.
Harder to dodge the piercing light. Yeah, when there's a bush. You know,
yeah,
can't see the initial cast of the bush.
It does make your ability to look for a shove, you know, it's not that secret where you're standing when it's just the one little pixel brush there, but he's not going to stand it when you try to shove him, so.
True.
Right,
we'll see it. He's going to be able to teleport back.
He did take TP, which I think was pretty obvious to everyone. That was the kind of lane we were looking at here, but I don't want to point it out, so he can just get these kind of cheater recalls here. Picks up a tier. Amcomb.
Gumayusi is going to be missed, but that could have been a very rough time.
He does have cleanse, but would have been pretty disastrous, as you say. And BDD putting the pressure on here in mid. Faker's already used one teleport, so we'll have to walk back to lane. And we haven't seen Lucian mid really all too much outside of the Corki matchup, but he is definitely putting the pressure on here. And it's been a while since we've seen Lucian mid as a mainstay. It's really been since 2021 when the Showmaker Lucian era was there, went banned every game.
Yeah.
But he's putting the pressure on. He's doing a great job. Lucian was changed with his passive, so he doesn't do as much if he's alone, but he still does enough.
And that just shows the power of 80 carries at the moment.
Yes.
If Lucian can be played in a solo lane, you know that there is something wrong. As Pyoshik's going to come on over, I don't know whether he's going to be able to stop Oner here, but he at least gets information that it is happening. BDD on the recall means that's just not quite going to be a thing that they can contest. As Pyoshik is going to come in and at least supervise. And yep, just presses a button, and Oner is going to ignore it.
He made his feet cold, and then he kept killing the frogs.
Well, Oner is going to look for him. Root Caller does come down, and there is the Weaver's Wall. Flash out from Pyoshik, but Faker follows him immediately. Now BDD is going to turn up, and there's the culling. Oner still level 5, so doesn't have the kick, and meanwhile, Zeus and Perfect are fighting. The flash out, but the flash in. First blood for BDD, and Perfect follows up immediately. That's 3 kills, and is it going to be 3 games?
I mean, it's looking more likely after this moment. Don't count T1's chances out just yet, but I mean, it looked really silly for the first part of this. Guma is hanging around looking for a potential steal.
Oh, that would be a pretty unfortunate steal, as that was a pretty early smite, I believe. And Gumayusi is going to turn up, and Daisy is also going to come in. Perfect. Getting that shove through. Zeus is still wandering towards the lane. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Keria is just doing his very best, but there is a demolish proc, and so these high notes are really hurting.
Yeah, KT is really winning everywhere. I mean, getting the advantage here bottom side as well. Some extra plate gold for the Seraphine. You can see the gold graph showing.
Yeah, Encore is going to come on through here as Oner turns up. Keria almost dies, actually, before it even happens. As Beryl, he's under the turret, and he's going to die. That means the Deft is also really dead, but at least they get one. Well, there's that. Shenanigans.
It went over to the Leona, though. They lose a plate top, and yeah, that's why I said don't count T1 out. Maybe I should have said don't count Beryl out.
Don't count KT in, maybe is what we should have said.
So this looks really silly for Pyoshik at first because you're like, why is he contesting? You don't have the numbers, but BDD is able to come over here. Perfect is winning the isolated matchup into a Jace who has to kind of rotate down, so Perfect does a ton here. And in this skirmish, Faker has a combo, but BDD is an 80 carry, so he actually has long-term attack damage here in this fight. Pyoshik has shielding for him, so it's hard to pick him. So a bit of an overextension there by T1. And then they got really excited about, we're going to kill Keria, And then it took them a really long time to kill Keria, and they kind of forgot about everything else on the map. Like, they tunneled on this super hard, and this is T1 right back in the game.
And, like, I mean, I don't know whether it's necessarily, like, right back in the game, just because that triple kill for KT was definitely very, very big. But I understand the thought process of, like, there are 2 bad guys coming. Let's just try and get what we can before we're definitely dead.
Yeah, they got a plate, they wanted more, and then as soon as they saw Oner, like, that was, say, the only call. I was like, we got to kill him, and Barrel's like, oh, I'm definitely going to kill him. It's gonna be
Barrel pressing Zenith Blade when there's a turret to be hit by. I mean, he's always doing that. He's always doing that.
Yeah, we need to add, like, if he ends up carrying this game and getting POG, we add, like, the little stats, like, times Zenith Bladed into turret range. It's like 17.
Yeah, and we need the percentage as well. Oh, as Faker is just dead. Yeah, there's the flash forward, gets the double tap, and BDD, he's on a killing spree. He is too big right now.
And you know, I think we have to really respect the Lucian. Faker flashes as well, but I mean, BDD also has flash, and he's just able to pew-pew him to death. Yeah, he called him out of the game.
All right, Daisy's coming out, but Oner's coming in. And Perfect going to find the stun. They're still going to go for this one. There's the knockup. Thanks, Daisy. And out goes Oner. Let's see whether he can keep himself alive, though, because Daisy's still in amongst it. The Root Caller helping the Renekton get in. Another Zenith Blade. Where's the turret range? Where's Gumayusi's health bar? My goodness, the damage to come out from... That's just a lost chapter.
Just what the heck? They're in a Torrens ring.
What the...
But it's a ton of damage. Guma's just super squishy, and I
guess that's it. Yeah.
I mean... He is a Senna, after all. He's only a level behind Deft. It's not like he just doesn't have his health growth. But either way, everything hits, and that's a lot of damage. And ultimately, ends up being fairly disastrous down there. Watch this solo kill as he just dashes in before the rocks can be placed. It's just a really proactive play by BDD. He's just like, I get in before you set the rocks, you're dead. You got to respect my lead that I have.
Yeah. As they were the girls from our picture-in-picture before. As another encore going to come in as Keria is going to get solar flared as well. There's a Zenith Blade from Keria one more time. Sorry, from Beryl one more time as Faker is once again fighting. Box is going to come on through. He's playing with fire here as Oner comes on over, but Pyosik in perfect position. Sonic Wave not going to find the mark. And now T1 trying to rotate more friends over here to try and help out the mid lane. There's the Weaver's Wall as BDD. He's got the Trigger Siege shield. He just turns around and kills Faker. There's the kick flash as Pyosik is going to flash to get back out once again as Oner. One more turret shot and he's going to die, but that's not going to come on through. And now Deft is going to need to turn up. There is going to be the kill onto Zeus. And now Perfect comes in at the same time. Gumayusi, oh dear. Let's see whether he can get himself out of this one. Perfect is going to have a slice and or dice coming up relatively soon. His flash is also only a couple of seconds away. The flash comes through from Gumayusi though. That is going to send them out of there.
Somebody check those AP ratios on the Seraphine. This is a little out of control. BDD gets the shield, trades back the kill, so very proactive here from T1, but it ends up backfiring as, I mean, it turns out playing... They opted into this, by the way, but playing the Sejuani into the Seraphine is not very fun, especially when there's a Leona to just kind of bully the cow, or pig, rather.
Poor. Yeah.
He got there in the end, but...
Poor Bristle.
Oner is in trouble.
Oh, this is live. Okay, yeah, Daisy's going to get another knockup as Perfect comes on in. That is going to be the kickback, and that should be enough to disengage. But he has to get the heck out of here. That is going to be a Hextech Drake to be taken here by KT. First Dragon in 12.5 minutes. Is a pretty late Dragon, but it's only, I guess, 12.5 minutes into the game. Feels like we've had a lot of stuff happen.
Yeah, BDD does have teleport. See if he wants to commit to trying to defend some plates here. Topside has taken the grubs here also by T1. Very greedy. It's going to take Ivern a million years to get that Dragon, but...
Yeah, very true. It's, all right, Perfect is just flashing forward. This guy is angry. And now Gumayusi completely out of mana, but did manage to throw down the Dawning Shadow at least. Should be able to walk this one off.
So greedy what T1 did there, and they get punished again.
I feel like we've had 2 games in a row where it's one team just trying to do too much when they're not allowed to, and it's happened now on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I will credit T1 a lot for the way they played around that draft in game 1, but this time trying to cross map when they don't really have that big of a numbers advantage, a little bit rough. No two ways about it. It's 2,000 gold deficit for T1 now. Chemtech Dragon, by the way, extremely relevant. Even that one solo Dragon for this double shield composition here that has been cooked up by KT. So I think they will definitely be grouping for that one. As it's a Leona, you know, you can't punish her. You're looking for the grubs here, but just respect this composition, respect its damage output. The Senna is going to offer very little in return at this stage of the game, so you don't even really have the numbers advantage you think you do in that moment.
I'm kind of loving what is happening here with this KT draft, though. This Seraphine working out very, very well. Blackfire Torch is now done. And Deft, we'll see whether he does the double burn as well. Might just be a whole lot of burn for the Seraphine.
I mean, the tier doesn't have to necessarily be made into the Seraphs because it's just going to give you extra mana for harassment in lane. Feels very good. Very cost-efficient item. Seraphine's not balanced around farming.
Beryl, this is actually one of the first times I've seen Beryl play without the Iron Solari Leona skin. He's been very, very adamant about picking that skin. He does have a skin that he got with Damwon, but this time I think just trying to match the Seraphine vibes there on the bottom side.
I think he just doesn't, he's not a big self-promo guy.
No.
He lets his gameplay speak for itself.
And he's a bit of a skin synergy in the bottom lane kind of guy as well. We have seen that he has picked matching skins in the past.
Blackfire Torch is going to make this Seraphine have less fun. Or sorry, the Seraphine will have more fun. The Sejuani will have less fun.
Yeah.
And she wasn't having a lot of fun before, but it's going to be very annoying to deal with all of that burn damage in this lane. And so constantly there's this hole where Guma has been roaming, but he hasn't been able to get much done. He's 3 levels down on Deft. Obviously, that's how this works, right? But it means he's very squishy. So even the Seraphine damage, which isn't bursty, by nature feels bursty into him. And he's very vulnerable in this composition against the Renekton, against the Lucian burst as well. So it's very difficult for Guma to play the game, and if you don't get map control, you can't really do much with Jace here either, going towards objectives because of the Ivern brushes we talked a lot about in draft. He may have overstepped.
Well, the minion wave is coming to him now, so there's no real reason for him to step too far. Not going to head towards the brush now, and is just going to look for a back angle. Oner biding his time, but for what is the question as T1 they are going to be able to take this turret on the bottom side of the map, and that is first turret blood, I believe. Yeah, it is. So bit of an extra inroad of money.
Definitely a huge win for the somewhat starved fasting Senna here.
A little bit unfortunate that KT weren't able to actually patch that one up, because Rift Herald, I don't know whether it's worth it.
I think if they can get the mid turret with the Rift Herald, it will definitely feel very valuable for the solution, and they can try to utilize it when this Drake spawns as well to use that as kind of a double whammy, look for a charge there, and then have that prio set up the brushes. So I think it is very valuable. Senna uses gold, you know, relatively well. It's still going to be useful that they got that turret, but it opens up a hole in the bottom map that KT aren't that interested in. I still think it's a huge win for T1 and a bit of a mistake by KT, but at least they have the Herald in return as BDD once again in danger.
Gets a control ward in there, though. That is value. And Oner, I believe, was actually spotted. When we saw it from BDD's perspective, it was just the Jace, but I don't think he's going to go for too much, and you can see just going to wait for that minion wave to come on over as Snare is going to connect. Gumayusi, almost tagged by the Zenith Blade.
When you look at the gold, considering the lead KT had earlier, T1 have really shored that up. I mean, this is with a fasting Senna, as Guma, speaking of.
Yeah, speaking of fasting Senna, he's going to take a lot of damage here, as once again, I mean, the passive from Seraphine actually just
BDD
really
is
doing a whole bunch of work. Is okay, Gonna dash away, there's the flash forward from Oner. He just had a feeling that that one was going to be waiting for him, and good patience. BDD not going to be biting off more than he can chew. That was a cannon that he gave up so that he didn't die there.
They had so many wards on the top side, as well as one there to the left of the Dragon Pit, and he's like, Oner's nowhere on the map. He has to be looking for something here. I know Jace has been camping me, and so he's just had really good game sense there, and susses it out, drops the control ward, then knows they're sticking around very likely, is going to play respectfully there, and now Oner has no flash, backs away, and KT have a Herald they can drop. They've got full prio on this Dragon. They're even going to push down this turret now.
Yeah, and I think actually because they managed to stave off that gank, they're able to get this turret, or at least most of the turret,
most of it.
Immediately rewarded for BDD's defensive play. Now maybe immediately punished. Let's just see how this one's going to go as the teleport in. BDD looking for Gumayusi, has to flash. Double TPs means that now T1 find themselves a little bit late to their own party, and it's going to be the outer turret taken. KT now grouped up, ready to go for this Dragon as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll be starting that Dragon if I were you, Guma. KT are taking control.
Oh, perfect. He wants more. Strikebreaker going to come on through there as he's doing a lot of damage. And this Renekton, way less anemic than the other one.
Yeah, he's been fed. This is going to be a TP top for Zeus. They're going to try to push mid at the same time.
There's the flash forward as Faker's going to get interrupted. No riding on the wall for you, sir. And the Solar Flare is going to find the sweet spot. That is an interruption, but PDD is just going to zap him down. And Faker finds himself 0 and 4, unfortunately. And KT, they're going to put Perfect in the bottom lane. He's going to take down that inner turret. And it's just like they took off the clothes from the last game and replaced them.
T1 is basically trying to do so much here. They're not okay. It should still be the turret.
Yeah, you can keep talking
so
about
anyway,
the other thing.
I feel like the KT are just not going to fall prey to T1 being like, I get something cross map. They're just not going to let them have anything. BDD?
Yeah, he's going to be in a whole host of trouble. The Dawning Shadow is even going to help out, and the turret loses interest in stopping T1 here. So KT will be able to answer with a Dragon.
They finally got him.
Yeah. Infernal Soul as well this game. That's an exciting one.
This Dragon, I feel like, might be one of the highest value single Drakes we have ever seen in the LCK with the double shields. But, I mean, as T1 are saying, we're going to give the Dragon, you're going to take Dragon, we'll get mid-turret. KT are like, no, we kill you, and then we'll get the Dragon. At least they're able to, because Zeus had already set up the teleport topside, killed that top turret, have the pressure here where Oner is able to come in and take him out for the first time after like 3 previous attempts by Zeus and Oner. They will kill BDD. But at the end of the day, Soul Point is the next Dragon here for KT. The gold lead isn't that massive, but it just doesn't seem like T1 have been coordinated enough to deal with these Ivern brushes. But all it will take is one single crushing team fight for T1 to get them into the driver's seat and then stop the Ivern setups on these objectives. And it's just going to have to be a little bit tighter play as KT are not just going to be simply out-macroed by T1. They've been able to match them at every turn.
Yeah, I like that they are still staying very proactive, right? Still getting around this map, trying to take down objective after objective, find these opportunities. The more they can group up and utilize the Ivern and the shields, the more value they're going to get. As, okay, Beryl could find himself in a rough spot, but he's going in! There's a turret! He has a Zenith Blade, and he's getting under there, and he's surviving, for goodness sake! That was way too long to be alive, as now Deft will finally turn up. Speeds himself through here. Perfect is now going to find his entranceway, but KT have already lost one. Seismic Shove is going to knock back the Renekton, and he could be the next little pickoff here as they take down the turret. Perfect is going to be alive. He is much less squishy than he was in game number 1. Has another Seismic Shove. This time, he is definitely dead. The Encore! And Deft is able to help take down Oner. Gumayusi follows immediately as Deft... I mean, the Seraphine is doing ridiculous work. He does die. T1 win the fight. But I'm still very impressed with this Seraphine.
Yeah, no, it was very good charm and a good setup with the abilities, but maybe don't chase to the choke.
Yeah, no, it was like the decision making was really dumb, but it was impressive that like what happened.
The choke point was the barrel that the fish jumped in. That KT were the fish, they jumped into the barrel, and Zeus was like, well, I'm firing at it. You know the saying goes. Barrel is like, this is an experiment. I've got Redemption, I've got Seraphine shields, I've got Ivern shields, I've got Eclipse. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, the experiment was interesting, but it was a failure. And then Perfect tries to help turn this one around. Deft goes for
the same thing.
Yeah, Deft goes for the flash charm play here. Guma has Cleanse. And yes, you end up getting 2 kills here, but Faker and Zeus just layering the damage through. And yes, you've got some shields there, Deft, but unfortunately, maybe went a bit too far. A lot of lethality damage here, so when the shield is gone, so is his health bar, as it turns out. And
Zeus can also build the world's most high-value Serpent's Fang in the history of League of Legends.
And he there it is.
There it is. Okay, good.
So all right, we figured it out. Yep.
That is probably the best item choice that you could buy. I would even say that Gumayusi should have built it first. And Faker could also buy one. I think Oner should get one, and Keria should get one as well. Everyone has one, and then everything's going to be fine.
I think just the Jace for now is fine. But maybe Senna later. We will have to wait and see, but
we have Kisun from the Pog Lab, so he can actually he can have the science for us, right?
Yeah.
He can tell us whether just one is going to be enough.
I feel like this game, KT are no longer fully in control. I mean, they have...
It's not even 1,000 gold, the lead.
Exactly. And T1 are rapidly getting back into their territory, right? They've eliminated a lot of KT's oppressive map control. The Jace has gotten value. I think KT kind of dove head first into a bad play there topside. Now, they do have Baron control here now, and this is just enough to actually set up some brushes and say, you can't contest this. I don't think they're going to start it. They do have a lot of damage, but not enough. And they are just going to set up some vision, but that could have been a way to force T1 into a really awkward fight, but otherwise T1 are like, cool, we're going to get more control of the bottom side of the map where that Drake is spawning, which is a little bit more relevant at this stage of the game. And I do prefer T1's position here. Let's see what KT do to try to contest this Dragon. Yeah, that's the big damage.
Yeah,
Def kind of pre-shield that one.
Def does do a fair bit of damage, but yeah, he also takes about 1 million from Zeus, and he's not actually able to shield it.
I think they wish it was a Mountain Soul.
Yeah, I really am looking forward so much to the Serpent Fang value and how much it is actually going to be able to do. Zeus already doing the most damage in the game right now, actually quite surprising considering the fact that BDD does have 5 kills so far and has been very involved in this one.
In this jungle that supposedly belongs to KT, but the toggle here is showing the different story.
Yeah. Tri-Brush Ward is going to be important, but you can see Oner looking for an opportunity. I don't think he's going to be able to steal away this Drake. That is going to be the sole point picked up by KT. Now, the Weaver's Wall comes in. Glacier Prison is used. And KT are going to take the Drake and then look for a flash play onto Oner. That is a miss, though, unfortunately. There is now Perfect looks for the pickoff, and Senna is just dead. Seismic Shove used defensively. That is decent peel, but now the culling comes in. The Redemption layered on top. The teleport flank angle, and there is the encore. Zay is going to be taken out. Def is answered, though. Keria going down very low, and KT, they still have their 80 carry because it's BDD.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of like accidental funnolution, okay? Yeah. All the gold.
Oh my goodness,
And then
it finally worked.
He's got double shields. Having a good time. Now, we were watching Oner with the vision goggle, so I don't know entirely how T1 gave up their control of the bottom side of the map here, but they completely did, and then Dochik was able to set up brushes here, then Oner looks for a desperate steal. They don't have an angle. Barrel's looking for a flash engage on the other side of this fight, but Perfect, he's got his Dominus, and he is ready to push through. Guma just goes down instantly, did not have cleanse, and this is just an easy fall. I appreciate Zeus' heroics here because they already used the shields. The Redemption comes down. Def has to be shielded a second time. He's got enough shields to actually just then take out the Jace, and there's no Guma, so that's just the end of the fight because Faker can't really damage them. He's a stun bot in this game, unfortunately for him. The knockup bot, whatever way you want to put it.
Oh god. Okay, so now we have a cool hat for Deft. So the Seraphine, this is a lot of damage. This is not the classic where you're just building Moonstone and Harrier and you've got all of those all of the healing and the shielding.
It's
everything's
AP
great.
Seraphine, yeah.
It is just damage, and it is working like a dream.
And Senna's so squishy that, you know, she just kind of dies. Faker, similar situation. He has his Seraphs at least, but it's just so hard to deal with this Seraphine's damage, plus her utility, right? Her roots, her ultimate is fantastic. It's kind of crazy. Like, in mid Seraphine was a thing for a while, but it was never really built like this. It was just a secondary support. But in this game, you get the shield value, and the AP ratio on that is pretty good. And you have the Ivern as well, so it's just kind of crazy what this Lucian is able to do as well. And even the Renekton is difficult to kill, and Jace has the Serpent's Fang, but that's not an auto win button. You still have to, you know, break through the field. It's more effective at it, but it's not going to be the insta win. And he tried his best in that last fight. T1 were pretty doomed in that situation. But I think if T1 can control space before an objective, then they can win fights. Unfortunately, they did not have any control. They had a flanking Lee Sin in that last one, and you know, maybe it's now too late for them to get control as the gold lead is spiked back up here for KT, but still remains to be seen. But I think it's not 100% over because T1, if they win one fight, could turn this one around.
Well, Beryl is looking for another Zenith Blade, doesn't find it this time. He is certainly on I'm going in mode, and that has certainly not changed throughout the entirety of this series. Now, able to get on in here, that Seismic Shove not really going to find too much there as Faker's just going to have to back off to the next line of defense.
Zeus is heading home, but they need a defense, and they need it now.
Yeah, they've got so much poke as they're sieging out these turrets as well. As now KT wary of the fact that there could be a bit of a flank angle here. They can't see the Jace on the minimap. BDD is rotating in. Oner still looking for that angle, and Perfect. He's just prepping this bottom wave.
Yeah. If BDD gets picked for any reason, I feel like KT cannot win the fight, but he's just been so careful this game. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. And he just understands that he is the one that has the target on his back. And he's going to play around it as best he can. Q going to connect there onto Pyosik. He's just going to back off. Big shield eruption there with the Shock Blast. And Perfect just wants to find that blast cone in. The Infernal Rift certainly helping out there as far as giving Renekton some engage angles.
It's just no great angle here for anyone to teleport to. It's a Jace, you know?
Oh god, okay, BDD dashing forward this time is going to get out of the way of the seismic shove yet again. I mean, hitting the Lucian with that is just obscenely hard. It is so difficult.
KT just kind of prio their way through this mid lane to the Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, and that's a ton of damage for the Seraphine. You consider the stat she's already picked up from the solo Infernal Drake with the Death Cap, stacking everything together. So much AP on this champion, again, that isn't really necessarily balanced around what he has done. And so she does a lot of damage. She has the same utility. And this Lucian is so hard to kill because BDD is playing so safe, knowing, as you said, that he is the main character. He is the backbone of this comp.
Not to mention, he also gets like movement speed, I'm pretty sure, from the W from surround sound from Seraphine. He also then gets the extra shield, the reapplication of the Trigger Siege shield, and then like it's just kind of ridiculous.
T1,
but T1, yeah, looking for this one. Deft realizing that that wall is in a rough position. Let's see whether they can keep themselves alive. Is Perfect? You are just dead, my friend. The rest of your team were not there.
That was a disaster.
Yeah.
KT, they pushed mid all the way to the inhibitor, but didn't get the inhibitor. So that doesn't mean you necessarily just for free get the back. I think they definitely should have split their backs and tried to send some members who didn't need to purchase items actually over there to contest some prio. Because like I said, if T1 get there first, they can win a fight. And Faker just said, no, you're not allowed to come over here. And then instead of walking away with taking the L, Perfect was like, oh, that's a big Q. And then he went in and he did a big Q, but then he died because his teammates couldn't get there. So yeah, this one's just a bit bizarre. As like his whole team can't be here, he like flashed in. Yeah, he wanted to see how much healing he get on one big Q. It was a lot, but then he died.
Huh.
He had Sterix, not enough actually, as it turns out.
Sometimes you just wanna get yourself in there. You want to feel like a big crocodile, and that's a solar flare. That's gonna get a flash and an Arctic Assault out.
And does this change the state of the game?
No,
not really, because only Perfect died, and it's only the first Infernal Dragon for T1. But it's really good for T1 that they didn't give the Infernal Soul to KT. However, it's less good that they didn't actually win a team fight and KT still have map control, and yeah, that inhibitor's still naked, and it doesn't change the overall state of the game all too much.
Yeah, and Baron going to be up in 19 seconds. Perfect is not even forced to use a teleport or anything to get over there, so no harm, no foul, but still quite a quizzical utilization of an engage angle where he didn't necessarily need to. But that's fine. That's fine. We'll stop harping on about it.
Yeah, no,
he's a young man, young player, and we'll give him benefit of the doubt that he.
We'll let Hirai tell him. You know.
Yeah. I think perhaps we know where the VOD review is going to start.
Comment and Supreme probably have a few words as well.
Yeah.
Maybe Deft is already.
I imagine if like they pull Perfect aside and say, "Perfect, you know what you did wrong." He's gonna like, "Yeah, I know I shouldn't have gone in there, but like, you know, I just rushed a blood to the head. I won't do it again, boss. It's okay."
By the way, this is really peculiar how KT keep like having the perfect angle to start Baron and having the choke point control, can set up brushes and then just go chase a Sejuani. Just put up the brushes, use your setup.
Oner now just going to be chased out by Beryl. There's a Weaver's Wall as Beryl's getting amongst it, going to stun him up here as the high note is so good. Solar Flare going to connect onto Oner as well. Remember, he does have a GA, so he can keep himself alive for a lot longer.
What if you were a champion with CC, shields, a little bit of healing, and also a bunch of damage?
Yeah.
Would you be Seraphine? I think you would be in this game.
Huh, yeah.
It's actually crazy. All right, now they're going to start the Baron. T1 all around them.
Yeah, there's a seismic shove, going to connect onto Perfect. Down to 50%, the Shock Blast is not going to land as Oner. Can he be the hero? He gets it, he steals it! And he is going to go down to the GA. Can they get themselves out alive, though? That's the question. Even Oner is able to survive, but Gumayusi's dead. The Jace is dead as well. There is not a lot of damage left in this composition. And the kick out onto Pyosik there. Deft is probably going to have the damage if he can actually land a few of these buttons. The smite comes in and there it goes. Surround sound means that he's just never going to be able to touch the Seraphine. And even though the Baron was picked up here by T1, it's likely that KT can still do some big damage to this base.
I mean, Zeus, he did kill a lot of shields in that fight, but otherwise not able to do a whole lot. Faker alone to defend is going to be so difficult. Guma not really an AD carry here. They have Baron buff minions.
Oh, another Solar Flare really nailed the minion as Faker's going to go gold and Seismic Shove connected in the meantime. That looked pretty good, but Faker is still dead. And Daisy, she's just wandering around. Keria going the wrong direction, throws an ulti to Narnia, and he will be taken down. It's BDD collecting his 8th of the game as Gumayusi slinks into the mist, but he might want to stay there as this game is over. KT roaring back into the series. It would not be a telecom war without 3 games. And I'm so